Hello everybody. So today we are going to discuss here what is teaching learning process. I will be giving you a bit overview about teaching learning process. So now do you know why we are going to study this understanding the discipline and subject? This includes that how the whole teaching and learning process will be moving. As you know, it is an accepted fact that teachers are usually not born but they are made. Good teachers nurture their knowledge and skills through constant and deliberate efforts. One of the prerequisites to be a good teacher is to understand the teaching learning process in more depth. For understanding the teaching learning process, it facilitates better appreciation in the teaching profession as well as in the process of imparting the education. This lecture of mine will give you insight of concept of teaching and learning for teachers who intend to excel in the teaching career. As a teacher, we tend to think that teaching is all about teachers and our role. In fact, the most important aspect of educational process are the students and what they learn. Earlier, it was considered that teachers are the most important, but now, as the constructivistic approach, that is, the more interactive approach is being used, students are the most important part. This leads us to consider what we mean by learning before knowing that what is teaching. Learning is actually about a change, the change brought about by developing a new skill, understanding a scientific law, and changing an attitude. The changes is not merely incidental or natural in the way that our appearance changes as we get older. Learning is relatively a permanent change. Learning is a relatively permanent change, usually brought about intentionally when we attend a course, search through a book, or read a discussion paper, or we set out to learn. Other learning can take place without planning, for example, by experience. The more we experience, the more we interact with the world, the more the learning is there. There are many theories behind learning: behavioristic theory, humanistic theory, cognitivistic theory. These all theories you will be studying. So now our main focus is learning. As I've already told you, learners are the main pillars of teaching learning. Learning is process of acquiring new or modifying the existing knowledge, behavior, skills, values, or preferences. The ability to learn is possessed by humans, animals, machines that we all know. But actually, there is also ability to learn in plants. The plants also learn something. Some learning is immediate, induced by a single event as being touched by a hot stuff. But much skill and knowledge is gained from repeated experiences. So, to retain the things, to gain more perfection, we have to repeat the things, we have to retain the things. Changes induced by learning often last a lifetime. Learning is not confined to the school learning, cycling, reading, writing, or typing, but it is really a comprehensive term which leads to permanent effect on the individual. Human learns before birth and continue their learning until death as a consequences of ongoing interaction between people and the environment. The nature and the process involved in learning are studied in many fields, including educational psychology, neuropsychology, experimental psychology, and pedagogy. So, by giving this whole learning, I will want you to summarize this, the main into a one definition which I have framed, that is, learning is a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of practice and experience. Can you understand the word? Relatively permanent change. It brings the learning as a change in a behavior which is permanent. It can be better, it can be worse. So it's a relatively. It can be better for someone, it can be worse for some other person. It is the change that takes place through practice or experience, result of practice and experiences. But changes due to growth and maturation is not included in learning. The change in behavior must be relatively permanent and must last a fairly long time. So, for the some ample of time, we should remember that is called learning. Lot of people, lot of psychologists, lot of educationists have given the definitions of learning. I would like to discuss that. First is according to Gates. Learning is the modification of behavior through experiences. According to Crow and Crow, learning involves acquisitions of habits, knowledge, and attitude. According to Skinner, learning is acquisition and retention. According to Gary and Kingsley, learning is process by which behavior is originated or changed through practice or training. According to Moon, to learn is to modify behavior and experiences. So these are some of the definitions which I want to share with you. Now, on the basis of all these definitions, which says it is a modification of behavior, it is an acquisition and retention that you acquire and then retain. It is considered to be change in insights, behaviors, perceptions, motivations, and combination of all. So that is learning is growth, learning is adjustment, learning is organization of experiences, learning is purposeful. So basis of this, I would like to discuss some characteristics of learning. Let's move to characteristics. We have discussed the definition. First, I will say learning is continuous modification of behavior which continues throughout the lifetime. Learning is pervasive. It reaches all the aspects of human life. Learning involves the whole person socially, emotionally, and intellectually. Learning is often a change in the organization of behavior. Learning is development. Time is one of its dimensions. Learning is responsive to incentives. In most cases, positive incentives such as rewards are most effective than negative incentives such as punishment. But sometimes we have to use that also. Learning is always concerned with the goal. The more clearer the goal, the more learning effective. Learning depends upon maturation and motivation. You can't make a small child and the age of 3 years to learn the derivations and all. So it depends upon maturation and motivation. Interest and learning are positively related. The more the student has interest in that subject, the more is the learning. All learning activities involve either physical or mental activities. They may be simple mental activities. So all mental activities involve one or two activities, make the mind more sharper and make it reach to the higher level while learning the concepts. Learning is motivated by adjustment. It's active and creative. The more you involve, the more you are creative, the more you want to make a new product. Learning is process. Remember that it continues. Learning is process, not a product. So I think we have discussed lots of about learning. In my next YouTube, I will discuss about teaching. Thank you. Have a nice day. Any queries you can post in the chat box.